tonight's practice was kind of about the moment and how our moods are shaped. And that was kind of the direction I took us towards. And so we started once we got settled into practice by being open to our full experience of what arose in each moment, and kind of I just set us here and grounded us in the way our attention works, and then moved that from a really wide and open focus to a much more narrow focus of just the breath. And we stayed in the space of the breath for a while, as I like to do, because the breath is always with you everywhere you go. And then we expanded from the breath into the body, because it's a natural way to feel your body is by the movement of your breath. But then I asked you to take it further and notice other parts of your body that sensation wise may be present, and kind of settle into those. And I tried to make the connections that between the breath and the body, your moods are formed, right? Those two, plus kind of the overlay of the way you're thinking about practice in the moment, all along the way, reminding you of kind of to hold this attitude of curiosity and lightness to whatever was arising, rather than allowing yourself to be caught up in the dreaded, I don't know if I'm doing this right or not kind of mode that we can sometimes slip into. And then we moved from that to kind of just an open awareness. Like we put everything down just to see what came up if you sat here with a little less direction on the back end, and could you meet that with the attitude I'd been asking you to carry with you throughout practice. And yeah, that pretty much brings us full circle. I suggest we slide into the practice. So, again, starting with your seat or your position that you're going to take, um, just like we do in yoga practice. Our asanas mean to take a seat, to put yourself in the position that you need for meditation. So, if that's lying down, let the arms find a comfortable place where they can rest, and let the body be heavy, and let the breath be light. If you're sitting up, maybe your hands are resting in your lap, or they're kind of finding their place to a comfortable spot um, in front of you, or resting on the arms of a chair. And then I invite you to close the eyes. And if it doesn't feel safe to close the eyes, set your gaze slightly out in front of you, just by a few inches, focused on a non moving object to help minimize the distractions. And this is the conditions under which you will take practice. And I like to inform students that meditation is about paying attention to the various objects that make up your moment to moment experience. And sometimes that means we're holding attention on a specific thing. Sometimes it's a little more loose. But the point is being aware of what you're paying attention to from moment to moment. So that's the first thing I'll kind of open you up with today is as you sit down with the eyes closed and the body settling in, what are you paying attention to in this moment? And simply notice it. The first thing that kind of happens when this prompt is put out there is that you start to notice a variety of things, from the way you feel to the way your mind is kind of the things that are top of mind for you right now, to the way your body is breathing, the sounds you're hearing, the internal dialogue that's kind of commenting on everything that's occurring. and can be helpful when you have this much variety to stay open to a sense of curiosity, an exploration, rather than making your practice something else that has to be a certain way. Can you release that for the time we have here? And instead, begin to learn about these experiences that are unfolding and taking place. Noticing how the mind gets caught up in story or gets pulled in to specific parts of the moment, meaning you might be stuck on a specific way of thinking or really focused on the way your body's feeling in this moment. And that no matter how long those experiences arise, they eventually dissolve and a new one or a similar one starts to reappear. And there's this interesting dynamic that can begin to occur in practice, where there's parts of practice that we really, really, really like and we really, really try to hold on to or cling to. And at the same time, there's parts of practice that we just don't want to deal with, would rather not show up or prefer for it to go away. So, should you find yourself encountering those kind of thought patterns, let yourself release that particular way of thinking and find yourself returning back to that inquisitive nature of just this is what the moment is presenting. The wonderful thing about your attention is that it has various qualities to it. Right now, we are exploring the open nature of it. where it's just free to kind of roam and pick up what is kind of calling it or grabbing it in each moment. But that isn't the only way that your attention works. Your attention can work like a spotlight. It can really focus in on specific parts of the practice, the body, the breath, specific parts of the moment, the story you're telling yourself about it. And that narrowing of focus feels a little different. And I'd like for us to begin to shift our attention towards narrowing slightly a bit into focusing on our breath. And the way I consider anchoring to the breath today is noticing when the next inhale starts. Can you find the place physically in your body where the breath starts for you? And then let your attention closely follow that through its complete cycle. You'll find that when we begin to focus our attention, moments feel like they have more distractions present. It's, it's the same stuff that's always been there, but it's easier to notice when your attention is pulled away, when you have an object to fix it towards, like the breath in this case. And rather than resisting the distractions, just recognize that that is another changing moment of your experience. And it's not where your attention is resting at this time. And give yourself the grace to return back to the in and the outflow of your breath. Noticing the change in size, the expansion and the relaxation, the movement that takes place with each breath as it moves through you, the pace of your breathing. The moments when the breath naturally pauses on its own before starting again. a space in which each moment of experience arises. We often call it our awareness. It's also kind of our consciousness. This is the backdrop that supports the present moment and the changing elements of our moment to moment experience. And I like to think of the metaphor that it's like a mirror. The space of a mirror is empty until something kind of appears within it. Just in the same way, each moment has a hint of emptiness before another thought pops in, or another breath shows up, or another sensation arises. When we're off the mat, these moments are happening so quickly that they kind of all stream together. But when you take a moment to slow down and pay attention, you can see that they're individually pieced together, some parts lingering and remaining as we hold on to or keep them there instead of allowing the space to remain open and empty. Coming back to the breath, if slightly directed away, because the breath so naturally intertwines with the body. It becomes kind of what I'd like to think of as the first place you can start to feel a shift in the physical body. If you feel no sensation other than your breath moving, that too is part of this moment. But you may also notice other sensations besides this movement of your breath. And it isn't necessarily that I want you to remove all of your attention from the breath. I just want you now to hold breath and body sensations in the same space of your awareness. So widen your focus a bit to be curious about what you're feeling in your body, in addition to the breath moving through you. In some places, the breath and the body blend so seamlessly together that it just kind of feels like it's all one continuous sensation. But the body also offers more opportunity to notice the parts of you that you're not connected with. So while it might be easy to connect with the breath in this way, I'd ask you to make room in this moment to notice the parts of the body that are a little more quiet, the place where sensation isn't so present, and let your attention be a little curious about that. All the while being aware of the moments in the practice that are showing up in wanting them to stay and never change, to kind of hold on, to create this sense of, I like the way this feels and I just want this to stay. Or I don't like the way this feels and I just want this to go. Can you soften to that idea? The moments that I have kind of walked you through and paying attention to your breath and paying attention to how your body feels, the weight of it, the temperature of it, the movement of breath through it, and the joy and the discomfort of it. These are the elements that, when you weave them together, start to shape your mood. This week, I found myself frustrated with the variety of life stuff, right? Resistance from, to my desire to do good in the world, or just general everyday frustrations. And when those moments arose, I was fortunate enough to be aware to kind of take a step back and observe those moments in the way that I'm asking you to observe them, to find the places that constrict, that close up, and then actively choose to soften, to release, to let go. To be compassionate to the fact that this moment is just arising and just changing. And the only thing that'll stay is the stuff that I hold on to, that I grasp to. And I can make a decision about what that is. Those are options, and options are good. As we begin to draw close to the end of practice, I ask you to allow your attention to open back up a bit wider. So rather than have it focused or harnessed directly on what you're feeling in the body and in the breath, I would rather you release that, kind of return to the space of this open awareness. And there's nothing in particular that I want to point your attention towards. The thing about awareness or consciousness is that it has enough space to hold every element that makes up our life and our experience: happiness, joy, gratitude, grief, pain, pleasure, all of it kind of bubbles out of the same space. And so in resting here, I just ask you to see what's true for you in this moment, applying the same attitudes and focus and that you've done thus far. Even as the mind chimes in with its version of the experience or the things that are happening, those too are just as changing and just as loosely held as the breath or any of the sensations you have in your body. It is just sometimes that those things can feel as though they are one continuous stream. Allow yourself to take a breath in, feel the breath come in. Maybe hold the breath at the top and let the breath softly go. You can start to open and close the hands, take your time to blink the eyes open and kind of let yourself come back into the fullness of the day, your open-eyed experience versus the one that you had here for the practice. As I close things out, I'll leave you a quote that I kind of read from one of the books I kind of study throughout the week, and it comes out of the Daily Stoic, and it says, "Here's how to guarantee you have a good day, and that is to do good things. Any other source of joy is outside of your control or is non-renewable, but this one is all you, all the time and unending. It's the ultimate form of self-reliance." And I think this applies deeply to our practice because how and what we choose to think and the way that we direct our attention is fully 100% within us to be able to do. And the more you can do that in a positive, reflective way, the more you can see things differently throughout your day that are colored by that experience. And so that is one of the benefits of regular practice is that you start to cultivate that agency of the moment over time.
Like and subscribe.